Hello everybody, and welcome to another hand feeding video. Today we have a special little treat. We have 3 little pineapple conures that are having their very first hand feeding today. They were just pulled from the nest maybe half an hour ago, put into the brooder to get acclimated a little bit, and now we will be trying to feed them for the very first time. We will see how it goes. For a first hand feeding, it is often not much in volume. It is more to get them used to the process, used to eating from the syringe. They will often have some food still in their crop from their parents, but it's more just to get them started and see how well they eat, and to see how they'll do. So who to start with? Let's start with this guy. I did pull them because I did notice that their crops were empty. At this age, the parents stop or they slow down the feedings. So special care must be taken that nobody goes hungry. You can see his crop is completely empty. So if he has a strong hand feeding reaction, this should be pretty easy. If not, we could be here for quite a while. So as you can see, they have the little fleshy part, the little soft part on the side of their beaks. That, when touched, should open up their mouth and get them to feed. That is where the parents touch to elicit a hand feeding response. Nothing yet. Give him a little bit of food, give him a little bit of a taste. He tastes it. Let's see if he likes it. And when they're this young, they must have formula that is right on cue for temperature and consistency. Oh, there we go. He definitely knows what it is now. But he's not eating very fast. He's just kind of taking a bunch of little sips. But you could tell he knew what it was right away. I recharge the syringe often to make sure it is good and warm. Control the head. Keep a steady flood of food in the mouth, but don't overwhelm. You can see the food going down the throat into the crop. At this age, even if they do have a strong response, the response often doesn't last too long because they're used to having smaller meals fed more frequently. They're not used to eating a full, say, 4 hours worth of food at once. You got the head shaking going on there. That's a good response. Let's say we'll take a little bit more. He's putting his tongue on the tip of the syringe. That does block it. You don't want to push too hard, because you don't want to run the risk of shooting too much formula down all at once. Oftentimes the bird will put their tongue over the tip of the syringe, block it off, just enough so that nothing comes out. That is done. He is not completely full. he is full enough, I will feed them again in about 2 hours. And I will be checking on them every 50 minutes. Let's go for the smallest one next. This one should have stayed in the nest a little bit longer, but again, he has a flat crop. The parents haven't fed in a while. And I don't like pulling only a part of a clutch, because sometimes the parents will abandon a single baby left behind. Just to be safe, I pull them all at once. The fleshy part at the side of the beak, I touch that. Introduce a little bit into the mouth just so you can taste it. They're not scared, they're just reacting to what's going on around them. A little bit more. Let's see if he bites. Oh, there we go. You can see him swallowing. At this age, they don't often latch on very strong, so I feed from the side of the beak, and I recharge the syringe often with fresh formula, because it can cool down quite quickly in the syringe. Even a drop of 1 or 2 degrees makes a big difference. This is a little bit reluctant. There we go. Get the good feeding reaction going. The short, quick swallows. When the parents feed, they will jerk their head up and down to get that good reaction. Not something you can really do with a syringe. That could be a little dangerous. Give them a little bit of a up and down motion. That can help sometimes. There we go. But you do want to get them used to feeding from a stationary syringe. It's just safer. Oh, he's eating good now. Keep them clean. Check out the crop. Doing good. Recharge. Put the old formula one side of the cup and draw from the other. The younger they are, usually the weaker of a feeding response they have. For conures at least. The cockatiels, they have a very strong response. He's getting pretty full, but you can tell there's quite a bit of air in there as well. If you get him cleaned up. Not much you can do about the air. That'll come out in a burp in a little bit. And this guy will be getting feedings throughout the night as well. Probably only 2, maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then again at 5 o'clock in the morning. Just make sure that they're always full. A very important age for them to develop. Give them a little bit of a break and back at it. I think that will be all for this guy. And that's more than enough to tide him over until the next feeding in a couple of hours. He'll do good. Or he'll do well. Now for the big guy. This is the oldest, and no surprise, he has quite a good amount of food in his crop. It is usually the oldest who gets the most food. They make the most noise, and that's why I do pull at these ages. The bigger they get, the more the big one gets to eat, the less the little ones get to eat. So the bigger one gets bigger, little ones stay smaller, and then you can have the little ones dying off. Natural selection. But in hand feeding, I don't follow that rule. Everybody gets a chance in hand feeding. I have a very, very, very low mortality rate in hand feeding. Pretty much once you go into hand feeding, you're pretty much going to make it. Older ones, he has a stronger feeding reaction. And for him, because he already has quite a bit of food in his crop, you're only going to add some formula as moisture. Make sure he's got enough to drink. Give him a taste. Give him a preview of what's to come. Once all the parent-given food is out of his crop, he will have a much stronger feeding response, but already he's doing pretty well. You can see the big bottom beak acts like a shovel, directing all the food back into his gullet. There we go. The crop is not hard anymore. There's now some liquid in it. That'll help him out. They're all hatched within a day or two of each other. It's just the one with the strongest feeding response and the one that begs the loudest gets the most food. They grow the fastest. That's why it's important to pull babies as early as possible for hand feeding. It makes them friendlier and tamer, but also it reduces the risk of losing any of the babies in a clutch. Especially if you have large clutches of 5 or 6, like in lovebirds and for the budgies. The bigger the clutch, the more of a chance of having some babies just expire from lack of food. So you start hand feeding very, very early. His eyes are just in the process of opening. I know he is done, he is full, he is gonna take a nap now. At this age, because of the heat lamp is nice and warm, you kind of hold them for a while, they will fall asleep right in your hand. They'll be kept nice and warm in the brooder. Good humidity. You will see the small ones catch up in growth very, very fast. They have a bit of a rubber band effect in that regard. A little bit of feeding, and before you know it, they're all the same. They're all the same size. This guy will probably last 4 hours until the next hand feeding. But I'll give him a taste in 2 hours with the other two, just to get him used to it. That went very well. None of them showed any real reluctance. Our first hand feeding can take an hour. Putting them back in the brooder, taking them out again, putting them back, taking them out, trying again and again, trying to get them to have the response that you're looking for. But these guys all did well. Back in the container, they all keep each other warm and thermally regulated quite well. Another good reason to pull a whole clutch at a time. Never a good idea to leave just one baby in the nest. They cannot thermal regulate each other, keep each other warm. And these guys will do just fine. Tomorrow's hand feeding, I will try again to do the older cockatiels, the rambunctious ones. And that'll be fun. And I'm beginning to work on a few longer form videos on topics such as picking out a bird cage, a general overview of the hand feeding process, and many other topics. If you have any topics that you'd like to hear about, let me know in the comments. Alrighty, everybody have a good day.